to DavidW versus Turnipboy in Bronze Division.
Absolutely. Both of these players, both pretty dominant so far. Definitely contenders to take the top two and try to enter the Tournament of Placements, or just try to earn that silver promotion for next season. And this should be a pretty good matchup. We saw this a little earlier today on the pub tournament. So Turnipboy took that one pretty convincingly, but we'll have to see how DavidW does here.
Yeah, and what I want to see before we get into it real quick, I can't wait for these picks and bans because we have Courtyard Chicken, but both these players have picked Library multiple times this season. So this is Library Chicken. Who's going to pick Library for the others, if either?
All right, well, we're going to hop into those right away. We had Turnipboy banning Veranda right away, and DavidW banning Courtyard.
All right.
Veranda. God dang it. I also like Library, so...
Sorry.
Yeah,
well, you might get that one.
Veranda's been banned 3 out of 3 times this entire cast, so no love for Veranda for any of our players.
Oh, well.
And to start it off, though, we've got Aquarium from Turnipboy.
Hell yeah!
Turnipboy has picked it before. Gonna lean into the crazy.
Following up right after that, DavidW goes for High Rise doubled, so that's definitely an interesting pick.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And Turnipboy ends up losing out on Chicken. He wanted to play Library in the end, so he does end up picking it.
There we go.
And then DavidW wants to finish it off with Tan. So pretty confusing maps besides for High Rise. That should be the one break we get in the cast.
Yeah, High Rise makes sense for
High Rise
DavidW.
can also be a mess.
That's very true.
DavidW, pretty good at flirt pairing. One of the best, I would say. So that's probably the logic on High Rise. But you're right. The rest, a little all over the place. Library Chicken, the only thing I really understand there. Can't wait to see how it turns out, though.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, especially opening up with the shark in play. Turnipboy is going to start off the festivities of the final match of the evening on the spy side of things. DavidW on the sniper. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. Long AI control for Turnipboy, even just hanging in conversation here. And takes control right before he's supposed to talk, so there's no talker.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Now steps into side statues after that little bit of a mess. Takes a highlight and a pair of inspects for his trouble.
Not a lot going on. This is surprisingly chill, especially compared to the Aquarium games we were casting earlier tonight from Challenger.
34% on the first flirt as the action target steps away. Contact coming off as well. Oh no, but the double agent leaves us, but DavidW just kills a poor innocent lady.
Wow, okay, so let me see here.
Yeah, it looks like
Boots walks away with the book early in the game. And wait a second.
She went for the briefcase, ended up reading before it. Sometimes this can happen.
Yep.
But they said,
I was gonna say that's a blue book.
What the hell?
Oh, that's brutal. That is a blue book. I totally get it now. I was watching the replay trying to figure this out. I thought maybe she grabbed the book and then walked away quick, put it back. No, that was the blue book from the beginning. Always wait 10 seconds, kids, at minimum.
If I were David, I would be tilted right now.
Yep.
Good God. That's
awful.
Brutal.
I feel dirty. Let's just move on.
She's like 0.5 seconds away from picking up the briefcase, too. I can guarantee that. That's just so unlucky.
DavidW on the spy side of things. Turnipboy on the sniper. In the palate cleanser. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah. Let us never speak of it again.
Top shark. That bug, though! What was that? What was that, David?
I normally don't advocate Time of Chaos bugs with Top Shark like that, but I think it was just free. The problem is, it's Aquarium.
That was a mid-shark bug. That was a mid-shark bug, Track.
Well, mid-top, right? Now we're getting full middle right over the center. But David, you know, the bugs, they seem to be kind of free, but you were also going to get free bugs. So the crazy thing is, this isn't necessarily a massive advantage.
That was way too dangerous. Got a highlight for statues right afterwards, though. That gives us 2 out of 3 inspects as we step into the bar.
And there's so many things you can do with this delegate.
Let's see what David opts to... Let's see how David opts to play this.
Yeah, you really have to, on Aquarium, be very aware of who's been to statues, who's been to bar, who could have a real banana bread. Because the sniper is so often going to have to shoot when they're not sure anyway. And you can direct their attention to people very easily with this.
DavidW might not actually pull the trigger on this delegate. Time is starting to run short.
Especially because we're standing out front here. And those... Oh, yeah, I don't know if this is going to do it in time.
Now pulls the trigger. It's going to be tight.
Again, I mentioned earlier that when it's tight, it actually works better if it takes. It's a high-risk, high-reward kind of thing when it happens right near the end of that timer.
Flirt
when the sniper is mostly forgotten.
34%. Does she get the drink in time? She does indeed.
Yep, and Top Shark is covering it the whole way, so this isn't going to be seen for at least a few more seconds. Teal's run out of there already. The Banana Bread's going to distract. Teal is not going to get knocked out by the Banana Bread either, even though she's not in with an SDA. That's a pretty good Banana Bread. This is working out pretty well. Wow.
Contact comes off. That's 3 mission completions. 34% on the Flirt still, but stepping back into statues, we're not even going to bother finishing the Flirt. There's 1 minute and 30 left to play, and even though our light gets fiddled with, this is not going to be a shot.
No, just too quick.
He swapped! He swapped! That's an extra mission! Turnipboy! He doesn't see it!
I mean, we said maybe David would be tilted by that first game. This seems like it was designed to try to tilt Turnipboy the other way. That is an extra mission, and it's not even covered by the Shark, where I would sort of understand the humorous BM of the extra mission. Here, it's totally on screen. I don't know.
Was that
doesn't
intentional?
God, I hope not. That can't be.
Forget that he already had 2 inspects?
It might have been a misclick. I don't know. Tilt this, DavidW says. 1-1.
Oh my god. All right. Well.
Okay. Yeah.
It's 1-1.
Okay.
Turnipboy on the spy side. DavidW back on the sniper. That was something else. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
That is more missions than you need to do to win.
For those of you who are watching this incredibly high-level spy party, don't do that. You don't have to do that. It's 4 of 8.
Yep, you don't have to.
34% on the first Flirt as he steps into bar as well.
Some spies like to get missions done right before the timer runs out. Some of them go even more aggressive and say, I'm going to do it during the countdown. That's when I want to sneak all my missions in.
Oh my god.
I mean, what I want to know is, what about those other 3, David? I mean, they're just sitting there unchecked. Doesn't that bother you?
Look at the pileup at bar. Turnipboy was able to get in on the ground floor of it, so he doesn't have to wait an eternity and a half for his drink. Or for his delegate.
I guess someone bought around.
Back in the conversation with the section target and the double agent. Flirt is green, brings us up to 75%. Just waiting for more people to step into conversation. No, doesn't want... Ooh. Oh my god, that was a play and a half! Under the cover of the shark, starts moving, and then stops and delegates and keeps moving, so it doesn't look like he was the one who did it.
Yep, I've actually done this myself in competitive play. It can be very powerful. Everyone sort of understands that you might bug behind the shark and they're willing to credit it. It doesn't occur to everyone else necessarily that you might delegate behind the shark even.
Fingerprint at the back statue gives him half of that mission and 2 inspects. Purloin is done and dusted, and DavidW doesn't seem to know what to do with it as we step back in for the last flirt.
Well, the problem is you have to have that mental snapshot while the shark goes by. It's just so hard to do. You're watching so much.
The
before you
shot
can guess.
comes
Gets it
off!
anyway!
He deciphers the play! A huge shot from DavidW. Oh my god!
Wow, I would be really curious to know, what the thought process was there. It might have just been, this is one of the people I'm positive was at bar. Because if you are not sure about the purloin, the next best thing is, here are the people I specifically remember being at bar, and I'm going to pay more attention to them.
There were so many people at bar, though, Trav.
Yeah, there were. And which ones were on screen, right? So it's kind of like when you see someone with a book, and you don't know how they got it, so that they inherently become more suspicious, right? So... potentially something like that. Wow. All right.
Yeah,
big win.
You can see DavidW tilting to see if Turnipboy is actually swapping here. So he's extremely aware that Turnipboy could be close to finishing. So
That's
and then
the
path on the way in plus quick talk just sealed the deal for him.
The good kind of tilting, not the kind we thought was going to happen to him.
Well, we have had fireworks on this map so far, and there's still one more game to go as DavidW steps into the spy shoes. Turnipboy on the sniper for our last game of Aquarium tonight. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Well, they've all been pretty entertaining so far. That's a shame.
You're not wrong. Early flirt, 34%. As expected to start off this game.
And you can afford a timer flirt on Aquarium. You really don't have to rush if you don't want to.
Absolutely. But DavidW has other plans as he steps into the blue bookcase to pick up a fingerprint that was left behind by a slightly careless ambassador.
Yeah, the ambassador, very absent-minded. That briefcase has got to be important, and yet they leave it all over the damn place.
Back in the conversation, looking to pick up this second flirt. Does exactly that on another white test, up to 68%.
If the ambassador ever discovers the incredible invention of gloves, spies are totally screwed.
You're not wrong. Takes the book back to blue bookcase, quite possibly to try to break up the flirt a bit. This time we're headed to bar.
There is not a lot going on. DavidW does use a little more of their total clock than your average spy, but not a lot more. Turnipboy, on the other hand, uses a much higher percentage, absolutely one of the highest in the game. But DavidW will definitely save a lot of that progress for late, even if they end up using a similar amount to most spies. The first half of their games, anecdotally, I think, tend to involve a lot less action.
Picks up a delegate from the bar and heads into an innocent conversation.
Banana bread.
Fake contact, interestingly enough. Lets off a couple of lowlights.
It's such a good one, though. 6 people are in with one of the SDAs.
It was pretty great. The bug coming across behind the shark's tail.
Oh, that path, though. That is such a spy bugging behind the shark kind of path, potentially. It is not without risk, even if it's not seen.
That is true. Another drink has been taken, and then the delegate expires.
Oof.
So that's a little bit of mistiming there. Fingerprint getting finished up on the briefcase. And now we head all the way back around to our death as Turnipboy pulls the trigger and finishes up Aquarium tied at 2. Where did that shot come from?
Well, the fingerprint's done, tracking it pretty well, and the bug path is just so suspicious. Maybe didn't like that last briefcase, too. There's a little twitch before they saw the ambassador, and, you know, maybe they have a better understanding of the distance there than I do. Whatever it is, I think fingerprint being done in bug path, you have to be a little worried at that point. Aggressive, but correct shot. Yeah.
I think you're right. It's easy to assume you've missed something, especially with the contact having come off. If you're crediting for a bug, you know they're done the fingerprint. You can assume they're done the flirt.
Yep. That's where we are.
Very good shot by Turnipboy, and now it's 2-2. Stepping in to high-rise any 3 of 5. Turnipboy opens things out on the spy side with no transfer, no swap, and no purloin in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
This is otherwise known as the standard high-rise 3-5 setup. The only hardtail is bug.
This is how we do.
Yep, there's a reason for it. I know our esteemed host questions this a little bit, thinks maybe microfilm a better choice. It's an interesting discussion.
Pair of inspects early on in the game at the far statues. That's us a highlight and a little bit of progress to play with.
Yeah, and if you thought some of the other games could be a little slow, boy, you haven't seen a high-rise game yet. There is no reason to do stuff early on if you don't need to.
51% on the flirt, though. That ain't nothing.
Yeah, and if you happen to two-flirt, that opens up some options, certainly.
Is the whole party in this conversation with the double agent here? I think everyone except for Smallman and one of the SDAs.
That's incredible. Yeah, and it is the SDA. The actual DA's in there already. That is about as full as I've ever seen one conversation on high-rise.
Well, Turnipboy doesn't waste it. The contact comes off for one solitary lowlight.
That's good. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. That's remarkable.
Fingerprint off of a drink. Difficult fingerprint off of a drink as well. Second flirt comes off for 85%. Turnipboy, if he doesn't go back to statues, I think is in quite a good position here.
Yeah, now high-rise is at the point, though, it's calm enough that you can track difficulties. Question is, even if you can track them, do you want to credit them? Do you want to shoot for that?
Well, we've got another fingerprint occurring on the green bookcase right now. Still 1:40 to play. Plenty of time.
And one of these missions, the partial progress on one of these missions is going to be wasted. But it might not be wasted on high-rise as much. Very often, if you get the one fingerprint, although it normally wouldn't be a difficult, you get the one inspect visit, for example, and you get the sniper specifically waiting for you to complete it and you never do. And then you go finish something else like fingerprint. That can be very powerful, actually. Partial progress.
Hap was so pretty on the way in, gets bumped, goes around through the conversation. Now he's at green bookcase. The highlight comes back as we finish the fingerprint, but all we need is one more flirt. We've got just over 45 seconds to get it.
Yeah, and on the subject of pretty paths and AI behavior and things like that, sometimes they won't matter at all, but sometimes if it's down to two different people who could have completed when that banana bread goes off, that can be the tiebreaker that wins you the game in the sniper's mind.
Long distance on this last flirt, too. 30 seconds to play. The beep beeps have begun. But unless disaster strikes, And it does not. The flirt is done.
Thinking about it. Ooh, he lined up the shot for a second, but it doesn't look like it's coming off. There was a moment where it looked possible, but no.
And Turnipboy opens off the festivities on High Rise with a spy win.
Yep, and that's exactly what happened with those inspects. You can rush to finish them late if you need to, or you can look for a good opportunity to get the fingerprint. The latter's probably better since the first one was difficult. That's exactly what they do. The inspects never complete and the sniper never shoots.
What's crazy there is that last drink had a fingerprint on it, so he could have just died. He could have literally just died for like 2 prints, green books into drink print.
Yeah.
You just die for that.
Great point. And it actually goes to show that when you're the spy, you can't complete fingerprint and forget about it on High Rise. You have to actually keep tracking fingerprint, but for the opposite reason, to make sure you don't take any more by accident.
Yeah. All right. Turnipboy has broken serve. Let's see if David can break back from the spy side of High Rise. Any 3 of 5. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. The early bug in Time of Chaos coming back behind the pillar. DavidW strikes first and steps into center statues right afterwards, which is, I guess we're going to get a rush. I think a rush is happening immediately.
I think it makes sense, and if you're not dead to rights for the bug, you just win.
Now you just go contact, and it's GG.
Yep.
No one's going to shoot this fast.
If they shoot you, then they saw the bug and you were probably
maybe not now. Maybe we wait a little bit first.
Right, because then you get suspicious.
Maybe now we contact.
Now's good. Yeah, and that's too suspicious. If a BB is too bad, it convinces the sniper they missed something or something's being covered for, and you can't really cover for much unless the ambassador's nearby on High Rise, so they'll conclude they probably missed something.
Takes a flirt instead of a contact. Takes a drink instead of a contact. Everyone's here. Just hit the contact.
Being very cautious here.
No, okay. Well, moment's gone.
Wow. Well, I guess part of what they might be thinking is if they do suspect me for the bug, then they might be waiting for the banana bread, or a rush banana bread might make a shot more likely to come off anyway. Kind of like on balcony, right? If you kind of bump into the AMBA sometimes, then you get an early BB, the sniper feels obligated to shoot and thinks, well, maybe it's a rush. In this case, DavidW think, you know what? I'm pretty sure I can just flirt to win.
That's true.
That seems to be the plan.
Well at this point.
Yeah, if you're not going to BB right away, then you wait.
Second flirt is a green test, brings us up to 77%. Still 2 minutes left to play. Absolutely no danger.
I mean, it's possible. This is so early on that if you're already a suspect and Turnipboy is waiting, he could actually feel probably pretty confident that flirt isn't done. You wouldn't necessarily just credit it, but that's a lot to ask and a lot to assume. Much more likely that DavidW is on the verge of a win here.
Minute and 30 now. Just waiting for this flirt timer to cool down.
Now, the funny thing is when you're watching this, as an observer, it doesn't seem that thrilling, but as a spy, your heart is pounding.
Oh! Are you kidding me? He takes the shot!
Wow!
Turnipboy is on top of things! The shot comes off with 3 seconds left, and what looked like a sure win for DavidW does not pan out.
So what's going on there is that the bug and the inspects are so quick that he's already staring at this character, Ansari, before they could have theoretically flirted at all. Which means that in a scenario where normally you'd see a couple talks and you think they could be done with flirt, at this point he's actually thinking, I'm confident flirt could not actually be done until at least one more talk. Because it happened so early. If you don't get onto them, if they walk around a little bit for 30 seconds, then the bug and the inspect, you're not at all confident that you missed one flirt and all your timing's thrown off. But in this case, you're watching for nothing but that, and you can actually wait for the talk. Wow.
My, oh my, that is a big play by Turnipboy. Brings himself a lead, 4-2. Now back in the spy shoes as DavidW picks up the rifle, looking for a way back into this. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, if that whole sequence just happens 20 to 30 seconds in the game, I think they have to shoot on the second talk instead. But in this case, it's the first thing that happens, so they actually are confident about the flirt progress.
Going for a flirt at the painting. Does he hang around for it? Just barely. 34% though does come off. Now we step in close for the second one. Green test on the second flirt brings us up to 85%. Just under 3 minutes. Don't usually move quite this fast on high rise. But we saw it last game.
Yep, you don't normally need to.
Well, now we're gonna slow down and let the party do what it'll do, see if it gives us any gifts.
It feels like there's been a bit of a dearth of AI completes, actually, so far on High Rise here. Spies have had to make their own action, and they've done a pretty decent job of it.
Indeed. Under 2 minutes now. Not much happening since those early flirts. So
yeah, this is
going for the briefcase instead of the conversation.
This is more what we're used to on High Rise. Yeah, you can just stay put for 2 straight minutes and still finish pretty easily sometimes.
Now section target finally comes back in. This should be the last flirt coming in any moment now. 1:30 to play.
And even on High Rise, you can run low on time eventually, and we're getting close to that point right now.
We are indeed. We have 1 mission completion, but no progress on either the fingerprint or the inspect. Other option is bug. Double agent is hanging out with us finally. Her and the suspected double agent have switched conversations.
And I don't think we've moved here for 2.5 straight minutes, roughly.
We have not. The contact comes off. So does the shot. And Turnipboy is starting to run away with this one.
Yeah, it's getting a little crazy now. And DavidW did not look tilted. Has actually played pretty well, but the results are the same. Turnipboy with a big lead now.
Yeah.
David
Morgan
W.
Freeman had... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was going to say he had fingerprints, full inspects, like...
He was done in that time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was going to be tough, unless, obviously, you're like, hey, he wouldn't do BB, inspect, and fingerprint, would he? He wouldn't do 4 or 5, but yeah. That shot is understandable.
Well, 2 other things normally wouldn't happen. Someone normally wouldn't swap as an extra mission on Aquarium without cover of the shark. And Turnipboy had partial progress on inspects in the earlier High Rise game and didn't use them. So I understand the shot, even if it seems counterintuitive, yeah.
It doesn't seem counterintuitive at all. May as well take the shot you feel like you need to take. It's usually the right one, even though if it doesn't pan out this time around, DavidW needs to find something from the spy side here, or he is in a hole that's almost too deep to climb out of. Turnipboy on the sniper in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Opens things up with 32% on the first flirt. And a highlight as well, because balcony.
Basically, yeah. It's basically balcony sometimes, yeah. At certain points, High Rise will be balcony.
Search and target comes back to say hi. Under 3 minutes now.
And kind of feeling like the other game, too. It's like, well, if the ST doesn't leave, I'm not going to either.
Absolutely. Nice and slow. Let the party do the moving for you. 83% on the flirt.
Yeah, but neither of the... Ooh, that path, interesting. That's
Yeah.
either good or bad, depending on who you ask. That little cut sometimes in front of people in conversation can be very AI-like. But the thing is, with all this idling and all these little pathing maneuvers, you see these snipers, they both know the other spies will do them, and they've been very loath to hand out those lowlights.
Briefcase with no fingerprint on it. That is also a very AI-like maneuver.
Yeah, at that point, again, you need to really hope that Turnipboy has a good handle on that briefcase. If they are even one off, if they even just think it's a difficult, it can be very suspicious. So you really hope at this point the sniper's on the ball.
Quick visit to the spy painting to recuperate and decide where to go next. And it is going to be statues. Minute and 30 left to play, no completions yet.
That's not as bad as it sounds on high rise, especially with the flirt mostly done.
That is true. 2 inspects from the statues, picks us up a highlight as well. That highlight doesn't become a really big deal unless we go back into statues.
Yep, some will highlight for any statue visit on high rise, some will highlight for real banana bread, some will highlight for statue finish. All pretty viable, as long. But if you highlight for any statue visit, you do have to remember who could actually be done with it.
Decides not to go for the second flirt in favor of another statue visit, interestingly enough. Now time is starting to become an issue. 30 seconds to play. No mission completions. There's the inspects done. That's 1. 2 more. Seduction target and double agent are in the same conversation as each other. Under 20 seconds. Contact comes off. 15 seconds now.
Wants the flirt to be the last mission.
It might not matter. 10 seconds. It's going to be overtime. Turnipboy might not wait long enough to let it happen, but if he does...
He can't wait for overtime. It's only going to be a second. They'll barely have time.
Does the shot come off? Shot too late for sink! And DavidW, a game that he should not have won, happens anyway.
Turnipboy was completely on top of the whole thing, except for one little detail. The exact timing of the talk. The exact timing. You have to have that little fudge factor unless your timing is perfect. And there are a few snipers for whom it is almost perfect. But if it's even a half second off and you're waiting for that overtime that never comes, this can be the result. And that would have guaranteed Turnipboy a point.
Oh my God. If DavidW stands still in that conversation, this is 6-2. But it's not. It's 3-5.
Huge difference. Huge difference. And you want to talk about tilting. I don't know if either player is really susceptible to that, but if they are, that is a tough, tough loss to take.
If either player is susceptible to tilting, they both are.
What happens when you both tilt? Can we get a double loss? Good Lord.
Well, if it can happen anywhere, it can happen on Library.
Good point.
As Turnipboy steps into the spy side of things in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Oh, boy. DavidW. Look, technically, they still could have brought it back after that, but this makes it so much more plausible. That game was massive.
You do not want to have to win 4 in a row for a draw. That is not the position you want to be in. Now DavidW still technically has the chance to win this outright, even though it's unlikely. 34% on the early flirt and a briefcase getting fingerprinted.
Yeah, now you're only
start.
Now you're only one spy win away from tying it back up. Assuming, of course, you hold serve, but you normally will. These are good snipers. The spy win is usually the thing.
Ooh, highlight for a weird return.
And if DavidW's onto you early, that's pretty rough. A lot of people think of flirts as free on library, think of a lot of these little things as free on library because there's so much to look at and the sniper can only see a third of the venue at a time. But if DavidW's onto you and flirt pairing, for example, there's a little bit of distance here with Smallman, which helps. But this is not the kind of sniper you want to be doing this against early on.
Absolutely. Green test brings us 79% on the flirt, but that early highlight could spell disaster. Three minutes to play. 2 flirts and a fingerprint are what we have to work with so far.
Progress a little slow, but yeah, it's that highlight, that early suspicion that has me most worried for Turnipboy.
It's going to be center statues. So that's just more suspicion getting piled on as we pick up our trio of inspects. Never mind!
Wow. Well, that's the flip side of noticing things like that and shooting for things like that. Yeah, I'm taking a look at the replay to see if I can find...
Please don't tell me she briefcased to the wrong bookcase again. This is flashbacks from game number 1.
Well, I see a book. I don't think it was marked. She's walking around a lot. She was at yellow earlier, and boy, I'm looking at the sniper cam, and it really seems like DavidW sees her at yellow, too.
Huh.
Well, now we're in that position we didn't want to be in still.
Must have just been a phantom microfilm. But to lose 2 games to something like that hurts.
Yeah, for those who don't know, that ponytail can kind of whip around, and if you kind of zip over at the end, it's very easy for it to look like a microfilm head tilt. I've phantomed it a few times myself, enough that at this point you're probably better off doing it because I don't want to shoot for it ever again, and just doing a white microfilm and letting me talk myself into the idea that I didn't see it, because it's a very common error. I don't know if that's what happened here, but whatever it is, Turnipboy has guaranteed that point after all. Could be done with this match, actually. It could be a bit of a romp right now if they'd gotten that shot off.
Yeah, absolutely. David manages to pull himself out of the fire, but then gives it right back. It's 6-3. 3 match points for Turnipboy. DavidW on the spy side in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And it's ponytail again.
It is indeed. Starting things off at blue bookcase. See what David does with it. Actually does pull the book out. Looks like he's chasing seduction target. How much do you want to bet it goes back into green?
I don't know. I mean, we've established these blue bookshelves are very tempting.
This is true.
The lure of the blue bookshelf might call it back.
Takes a flirt for 33% and immediately goes back on the move. Not heading to green bookcase. In fact, is just going right back where he found it.
The first minute of these DavidW games, they're pretty reliably chill. And library no exception, even though it's a little easier to get away with stuff here.
True that. In conversation with the double agent now. Purloin comes off on a green test. We'll see how long this reject chain lasts, but Toby's stepping away. That could be gigantic.
Very far away. He's going all the way across. Is he still going? Yep, just about. And
Couldn't have
Jeez,
written it better.
No, and I don't even think that reject was seen. I think this is going to be pretty darn clean. This
think
is
so.
huge. That's what
think
DavidW
so.
needed.
That's a free mission. And a free purloin can really screw with a sniper's feel of a game. List is gone. 2 lowlights. 3, 4 now. 5. Not a terrible reaction.
Banana bread.
Yep.
Another contact.
A common
More
tactic
lowlights.
on library is banana bread, purloin you get away with, and wait for them to shoot. It is particularly powerful here.
67% after the second flirt. DavidW in commanding position of this game.
That is a lot of lowlights, though. I mean, there's very few people left, but the problem is if they do almost anything, it's going to be hard not to shoot. And it might be hard to shoot DavidW in particular. Might be hard to say he's the one who purloined because we really don't think they were ever seen there. They just weren't explicitly lowlight is the thing.
Well, ooh, a nice little max range bug coming across while Turnipboy was whipping around.
That's huge. To get away with another hardtail while you're one of this tiny pool of suspects, one of just 5, that's
Very
big.
impressive stuff, but back in the statues again. Now I think Turnipboy has alarm bells going. DavidW is very suspicious right now, but is he suspicious enough? He's looking for the swap, and the swap's not coming. 45 seconds and 1 flirt to get.
That makes perfect sense because he figures once it's narrowed down, I'm not going to be able to credit the hardtail, so I'm worried about the swap. When the swap doesn't come off, it doesn't occur to them that Bug was
the
clean.
Stop talk before Turnipboy comes around to check it. Nets DavidW the game. It's 6-4. DavidW pulling himself back into this.
Obviously, the purloin was huge. We all understand that. But the underrated part of that game is getting away with the bug after the party is narrowed down. When the party's narrowed down like that, if you're the sniper, you're really thinking, okay, they got their damage done now. It's going to be really hard for any of the remaining suspects to get something by me. The fact that he gets the bug off clean is why Turnipboy is staring at him at statues. He figures he must need to swap to finish. I'm not willing to credit him with another hardtail after that purloin, but because the bug's already done, the swap isn't necessary. That's why the shot doesn't happen, and that's why DavidW wins and is still alive.
And now we go to Tayen, opening things up with Turnipboy on the spy with all the statues covered, but all the bookcases open in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
When you pick Tayen or Aquarium or something like that at the end of the draft, you actually don't always know, am I going to want this kind of craziness or not? If I have a lead, probably not. If I'm losing, probably yes. In this case, the chaos is probably going to help the player behind on average. That's DavidW, especially as someone who can track flirts.
Absolutely. Turnipboy starting slow. Seduction target comes to him. 51% to start the flirt.
Well, that'll hurt the flirt pairing I was just talking about, to say the least.
You're not wrong. A little bit of a weird maneuver into side statues here. Does get the fingerprint off of it though, so 2 inspects and fingerprint underway.
Obviously,
no, we didn't take the fingerprint.
that's surprising,
What?
to say the least.
What? Turnipboy, why you do this?
Why you not do this? Yeah.
Why you failed to do this? Red test on the second fingerprint. He tried that one at least. I'm confused. Track.
Well, so depending on which direction you scroll, you might never see the option.
It comes up in the...
I think if you scroll down rather than up, for example, if you're using the mouse wheel, they cycle. So if you scroll one way rather than the other and don't go all the way around, I'm not sure you see it. And if you weren't expecting it either, and we've seen accidental fingerprints at least once tonight, and I think that was from Turnipboy too on High Rise, actually.
That's true.
Seems plausible, I guess.
This is why we Q right-click instead of E right-click.
Well, there we go, yeah.
Banana
Just
bread.
in case. Doesn't come too often.
85% on the flirt now. Fake contact as well. Pretty good fake contact, too.
Yep, if you're going to fake, you can do worse. Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. How many did they get? A bunch of accidental fingerprints? I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, there was the one fingerprint at that statue, then there was the failed difficult, and then you went back to the same statue.
I mean, I'm looking, so you can see he starts to line up the shot before General even gets there. So he's waiting for him to walk into it, clearly waiting for an excuse then to shoot.
Technically, General did break his idle animation here.
Yeah, I guess
and he has 2 prints too that Turnipboy doesn't have that he could be giving him into statues. If he wasn't sure which statue he was at, that's also a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, when I see idle breaks on Tan, half the time I'm like, I think I saw that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You got to be pretty damn confident to shoot for it, especially because they're obviously not that close to done. But I guess when you know, you know.
Yeah, well, this is Taeyen. You have to keep in mind. Maybe you thought he could have been at center statues instead of the front one, so you credit the inspects. You always credit the seduce. You're crediting the fingerprint.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
You can credit bugs more often than not.
That must be the case, yeah.
Back in the statues we go when the shot comes off. We were worried about him already because of the prints, neither of which actually happened, but David didn't know that, and now it's 5-6. The last game of the match. If David can win this from the spy side, we are all square, and the match is drawn. Turnipboy with a chance to bring it home from behind the rifle in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, it would be 3 in a row if they can pull it off. And remember, one of those just a little before that was a shot too late for sync. So this would be absolutely, in every sense, a stolen point for DavidW.
Absolutely. Opening the game at green bookcase. Once again, all the statues covered. All the bookcases available. Only the back Soji is in a different position, and that one doesn't matter anyways. %31 on the first flirt. Not the number you want. Means you're going to have to hit a green test somewhere along the line to finish it in 3, but not bad by any means.
Yeah, and if you're DavidW, one of the big questions is, how much attention do I pay to getting my missions done? And how much do I pay to the party and seeing who I can get shot? Because it's Tan. Sometimes you just wait a few minutes and you win.
This is very true.
But you can't knock out the best suspects. So if you're at your best, the best spies are doing both. They're giving themselves a chance to complete, but they're watching the party very closely, keeping those other suspects in there, making the sniper's job as hard as possible.
Double agent sidles up to David, but he doesn't want it. Steps back into the green bookcase to put this away innocently. Under 2 minutes now.
And it's not a lot of progress, but you can get a lot done quick here.
In conversation with double agent again. Minute and 45. Here's the contact coming off. It's a pretty good one. 3 lowlights available that I can see. There's 1. There's 2. Irish was not taken. Second flirt was a green test to bring us up to 69%. That is in range for the 3 flirt. Into blue bookcase now. This is both bookcases visited.
You knew there had to be one more blue bookcase before the night was out.
1 minute to play. Timer is starting to tick pretty fast. Finally managed to get our way into this conversation, although it took a little while. There's the flirt done. That's 2 completions. Haven't been able to get a good bug yet, though. We'll see where the ambassador goes here. No, he goes forward.
Yeah, normally you've had more opportunities by now. It hasn't really lined up yet, and suddenly you're going to need one soon, but one of your hands is holding a book. You'd like to bug and then dump maybe, but it's going to have to be the other way around.
Under 30 seconds now. Here's the transfer coming off. That's not where that book goes, and Turnipboy knows it. The shot comes off. And that's gonna be the match. Turnipboy gets it done in 12 games.
That is the counterintuitive play. The books are totally exposed, so who would microfilm there? DavidW says, I would. And that ends up salvaging both points for Turnipboy, who very nearly lost one to a shot too late for sink, and then almost 3 straight losses at the end, but he gets the win. Technically, probably would have felt a little better afterwards with that possible 7-2 we almost saw, but 7-5 is worth just as much in the standings, and that's what matters.
So many games that came down to the littlest things. First, the briefcase positioning in game number 1, and then David's little dance in high rise, and then the shot too late for sink. There were so many games that could have gone either way, but it turns out that Turnipboy winds up on the better end of it.
Yeah, and he's in the better end of the bronze standings as a result, too. Technically, he's 2 points down, but he's played 3 fewer matches. That's why. Turnipboy is 7-1. DavidW is 6-1-4. This was DavidW's first loss, actually. He has 4 draws. He almost managed a 5th draw today, for crying out loud. But Turnipboy only has the 1 loss and no draws, 7 wins. So 14 points in just 8 matches. Both of them are chasing Shep, but Turnipboy has matches in hand against him, too. So Turnipboy, you could say, could easily be leading bronze by the time they catch up on those unplayed matches. This is really big for Turnipboy.
My, oh my. This just got very, very interesting.
Yeah, you should take a look at those bronze standings, everybody. There are pile-ups at the top, and then a few from, 4 to 6 are all tied at 12 as well. But again, the unplayed matches tell the story. Turnipboy behind DavidW's first loss of the year.
Yeah, and this actually might put him squarely in third if Turnipboy can win a few more. But he has some really tough matchups ahead. He has to play Ryu, DeGran, Pox, Furby. And it's like, it's going to be tough to go completely without a loss there. But if he can, then he should be able to surpass Shep. But Shep, right now, looking pretty strong.
Yeah, no losses for Shep at all, 3 draws. And it's funny you mentioned Ryu, Pox, DeGran. Those are 3 of the 4 people immediately below Turnipboy in the standings. They are all almost as good as him so far this season. So those matches are going to be the ones that determine the fate of all the non-Sheps probably in bronze. This will give him a little bit of margin, but you're right. Those are tough matchups. Maybe not as tough as DavidW, but close. That's the problem for Turnipboy, is he's got week after week after week of this caliber of player.